Hi everyone! It is so good to see you here. My name is Renee, and I pray that we might grow in our faith together. In this video, as you can see, I will be doing a flip through my Bible, and specifically through all the books of the Bible that I studied in 2024. And I started studying and reading this Bible in the end of June, so I'm not very far, and I'm taking my time. This is the first time ever that I am going through the whole Bible and that I will be reading the Bible as a whole. I'm not doing it in any particular order, so during 2024 I skipped around a lot in the different letters and other parts of the New Testament. And this year I'm also going to be studying more of the Old Testament as well. And I also want to give a disclaimer that this is the way how I study in my Bible. If you do things differently, and if you, for instance, don't use specific pens or markers that I use, that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong and I'm doing it right. Everyone has their own style and way of getting into the word, and there's no right or wrong here. I'm also not showing this to boast or make you feel envious or anything. I'm just showing how I do it, and hopefully I can inspire you, but also I always will recommend to try and find your own way of getting into the word and just do whatever works best for you. So, without further ado, let's just get into it because I've blabbed too long. This is a Thrive devotional Bible for women, and it's a New Living Translation, and as you can see, I have a cover on it. My mother made this cover for me. I picked out some patches that I wanted to have on my cover and some like fringes to go alongside of it. And I bought all these on Etsy. Let's see. This one and this one are both from the same shop, if I'm not mistaken. This one and this strawberry one are from the same shop. Then I have these two. These are from the same shop. And I have these two crosses that are also from the same shop. And this is also from a different shop. The felt itself is from my mom. And she also made a rubber band, like an elastic band, so I can close it. And so that is the cover that I currently have. Let's just open my Bible. If you want to know more about my Bible, about, for instance, the pens that I use, or my color coding system, or my prayer coding system, or anything else, I highly recommend you to watch the first video of my Bible where I show you that this is my everything Bible, and where I basically discuss all the ins and outs of this Bible. But let's get into the first few books of the Bible that I studied. The first books that I studied in 2024, I studied them in July, are 1 John to 3 John. And as you can see here, I did use a different pen from what I normally use here. This was definitely a point in time where I was still like trying to figure out what pens to use and how to basically get into studying the Bible. And I also like to write down the dates on when I decided to study them. And here's 2 John, which is just 1 page. And 3 John is also just 1 page. And I did this one in August. Then the second 2 books of the Bible that I studied are 1 and 2 Peter. And here I'm also using a different pen from the pen that I normally use. I studied this in the beginning of September. And this is one of the thicker tip-ins that I did. And this is one of like the biggest studies that I ever did. I'm not sure if it will fit in frame, but you can totally like fold this out. It's about spiritual gifts and how they relate to the fruit of the Spirit and what's the difference in them and how to find your spiritual gift. Then here is 2 Peter. And here you can see me using the pen that I still use till this day, which is an erasable pen. And I found that this pen doesn't bleed through and ghost as much as the other pens. And if I make a mistake, I can just erase it, which is, it takes off a lot of pressure from me. And here's the last of that. Then let me see. I think the next one was Romans. Romans is my favorite book of the Bible. It's just, it explains so much. And whenever I read it, I truly feel God's love. And sometimes that just happens whenever you read a specific book of the Bible. And for me, it happens with Romans. So I really loved studying this book. And here you can see that I didn't use as much tip-ins and sticky notes anymore. I still don't know if it's like easier for me to read my notes if I put them like onto the page itself or if I take sticky notes. So I'm still like figuring out what I like better. And I also started using arrows a little bit more. I'm still looking for stickers with like small arrows, but so far I don't have any luck with finding those. So I'll just stick to writing. Then after that, I studied James. This is one of the designs that I did and that I'm also selling on my Redbubble. But I thought that it was fitting since James talks about faith and how to have faith. I did this study at the end of November. And here's another tip pin. And here I took a lot of notes, as you can see. You can see that it's getting a lot more full along the margins. And then I think I skipped one that I did earlier. Yes, I skipped John. I studied John in September, like before studying James. And it's in some chapters I like to give some more context. I had this idea of doing that with every book of the Bible, but after like doing 2, I kind of gave up on that, but that's okay. This is one of the few transparent sticky notes that I used. Everyone, at least in the Bible studying community, I see everyone like raving about them, but maybe it's the pens that I use, but they don't work for me at all. The pen just won't stick to the paper, if that makes any sense, and it stains and it bleeds, and it's not for me. Maybe it's because I like to use kind of rollerball pens instead of the actual ballpoint pens. So maybe the ink is just not good for those kind of sticky notes. But I'm just sticking to like the actual paper sticky notes and just making notes in the margins. Some sheep, because Jesus talks about his sheep and how they listen to his voice. This is a little like collection of notes that I took during a sermon, or at least I took the notes on my phone and then I put them in later, because the sermon was talking about Jesus, the true vine, and I was like, oh, I'm coincidentally studying John, so let's pay more attention. Okay, then after James, was it? I did because I think I did James at the end of November, and for Advent, I decided to do a challenge. So each day of Advent, I would study one whole chapter of the book of Luke, so I can go through the story of Jesus before Christmas, basically. And I had a lot of fun with that. I really like doing that. But you can like really notice that I am taking less notes because I have more to read. I usually take a lot of time when I'm studying the Bible, so I tend to pick out like short passages to read, and like really break down the chapters so I can really like dive deep into a specific passage. But when I have to read a whole chapter each day, you can see that I take less time taking notes, and I tend to dive less deep in like really studying. So that's the only downside to this challenge, in my opinion. And of course, you don't need to have like notes for every passage of the Bible, because sometimes you can read a part of the Bible that you don't really connect with yet, but if you read it at a different time in your life, puzzle pieces might fall into place. So you don't have to feel the need to write notes on each page. It's better to write notes that you really are useful for you and to you. So if I like skip a page and I don't take any notes, I won't pressure myself or anything. And that's the end of Luke. And then I also studied Ephesians. And this Bible study kind of, like this book of the Bible, kind of overlaps. I started this at the end of December and I finished it at the beginning of January, so and the reason why I decided to study Ephesians is because the word of the year, my word of the year of this year, is rooted, and one of the scriptures that talks about being rooted in Christ is Ephesians 3 verse 16 till 19. Second half of last year, it's been following me around, so I just knew that I had to do something with it, and that's why I decided that the word root or rooted would be my word of 2025. And that's the last part of Ephesians. And then I also did, whenever I had like time or when I felt like it, I would decide to study a psalm, but I'm not very far yet. And like I said in my video where I talk about all the books, the Christian books I read in 2024, I read a book talking about Psalms, and it was kind of a like devotional, and it really brought me more insights into the Psalms, so I am going to use that specific book to study the Psalms more this year. But that's basically all that I studied last year. So far, I really liked studying the Bible. It's really opened new wisdom and new knowledge for me. And I am very, very thankful that Bible journaling exists and that I found a way to study the Bible and to take like new information in while doing something with my hands and while like getting to be creative. And it's been really eye-opening for me, and I'm excited to study more and more out of the Bible. And this year, like I said, I want to study more of the Old Testament, and hopefully I will be able to do another flip through in the near future, but we'll see. I hope you like this video. That's it for this video. I pray you have a blessed week, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye!